The stars were endless, shining like cold diamonds against the black sea of space. Somewhere, far away from the safety of great civilizations, a small signal moved quietly across the void. It was not a strong message. It was not filled with codes of power or commands of war. It was only a broken voice, weak and trembling, carried by hope and sorrow. It was the last cry of a girl who had almost given up. She was young, with eyes full of fear and a heart heavy with loneliness. Her home had turned against her. Her people had abandoned her on a barren world, far away from the busy lanes of the galaxy. She had been called useless, weak, and unworthy. She had cried for help before, many times, but no one had answered. Civilizations with mighty fleets had heard her signals, but they had turned away, not caring about one life, not caring about one broken girl. Now, with her strength fading, she sent one final plea. She whispered into the emptiness, "Please, if anyone can hear me, please don't let me die here." Her words were carried through the stars. For a long time, there was nothing, just silence, just the heavy sound of her own breathing and the slow beating of her heart. She closed her eyes and thought, "No one will come. I am truly alone." But far away, on a small blue planet called Earth, the signal reached unexpected ears. At first, it was just a faint echo picked up by human receivers. Scientists thought it was another piece of lost data, perhaps just static. But one young operator paused, listening closely. He heard not static, but pain. He replayed the signal again and again, and the more he listened, the more he was sure. It was a voice, a desperate, trembling voice. He carried the message to his team, and soon the room grew quiet. The scientists leaned in close, staring at the screen, hearing the alien girl's words repeat in the silence. "Please, if anyone can hear me." Her words cut deep. There was no demand, no arrogance, only pure sorrow. The kind of sorrow that makes every heart stop. For a moment, the humans looked at each other. Then one of them asked, "Should we answer?" The question was not simple. In the galaxy, humans were not the most powerful. Their fleets were strong, but compared to other civilizations, they were still young. To answer this call could mean danger. It could mean war. But something stirred inside them, a kind of fire that had burned in human hearts since the beginning of time. One of the commanders stood up. His voice was steady and firm. "If no one else will answer, then humanity must. If all the galaxy turned away, we will not. If she is alone, then we will stand beside her." The decision was made. Humanity would not ignore the cry. The girl, lying weak on the sand of her dying world, suddenly felt a strange sound in her communicator. Her eyes widened, her breath caught in her chest. For the first time in so long, she was not alone. "Do not be afraid," the voice said. It was warm, steady, and human. "We heard you. You are not forgotten. You are not alone." Tears filled her eyes. She had waited so long to hear those words. In that single moment, hope returned to her heart. She did not know what kind of beings humans were. She did not know their strength, their kindness, or their hidden power. But she felt their courage in that voice. She felt something she had never felt before, trust. And so, her last cry for help, spoken in despair, was finally answered. The galaxy did not know it yet, but this small act, this choice to answer a forgotten voice, would awaken something that had been sleeping deep inside humanity. It would call forth a strength no other race could match. The girl wiped her tears, her heart beating faster than before. She whispered back, her voice weak but filled with gratitude. "Thank you. Thank you for hearing me." Far above, on Earth, the humans prepared their next move. They did not see her as weak. They did not see her as a burden. They saw her as life, precious and worth saving. And for that, they were willing to risk everything. The stars continued to shine in silence, but something had changed. The universe, for the first time in ages, felt the quiet spark of a coming storm. This was the beginning. This was the moment when one girl's cry, ignored by all, was finally answered by the only species brave enough to care. Humanity had heard her, and humanity would act. The girl sat in the sand, weak and trembling, holding the small communicator close to her chest. The voice she had heard still echoed in her mind. You are not forgotten. You are not alone. For a moment, she wondered if it was just her imagination, a dream created by her desperate heart. But the voice came again, steady and clear. This is Earth Command. We received your signal. Stay calm. We are preparing help. Her breath caught. It was real. The young alien girl had never heard such warmth in a voice before. Her people had always spoken with coldness, with sharp tones of pride and judgment. But the human voice was different, gentle, firm, and filled with care. She pressed her fingers against the communicator as if she could hold on to that comfort. Far across the stars, the humans were already moving. In a control center filled with screens and quiet voices, a team worked quickly. Engineers studied the broken message. Pilots prepared their ships. Leaders debated the risks. Commander, one officer said, this could be a trap. What if another civilization wants to lure us out? The commander looked at the screen where the girl's weak voice played again. Listen to her, he replied. Does that sound like a trap? She is alone. She is afraid. If no one else will act, humanity will. That is who we are. The decision was final. A rescue mission was approved. For the humans, this was more than duty. It was a chance to prove what they believed deep inside, that every life, no matter how small or forgotten, was worth saving. A small fleet prepared to leave Earth. Not the grand warships that frightened enemies, but swift vessels designed for speed and survival. Each pilot knew the dangers. Alien raiders roamed the stars. Rival empires watched humanity with suspicion. If they discovered this mission, there could be consequences. But no one turned back. On the alien girl's world, the desert wind carried fine dust across the barren plains. She sat near the edge of the river, staring at the endless horizon, wondering if she would truly see the humans arrive. Her people had abandoned her. Other civilizations had ignored her. Why would humans be different? Her doubts grew heavy, but the human voice returned often. Stay strong. We are on our way. Each time, the words gave her a little more strength. Meanwhile, whispers spread in the galaxy. Other alien species detected unusual movement from Earth's direction. Their spies reported that humanity was preparing something unusual, a mission to answer a lone distress call. Some laughed. Foolish humans, they said. Why risk so much for one life? Others grew uneasy. If they value even the weakest among us, then what kind of strength do they truly hold? But none of them moved to stop it yet. Back on Earth's fleet, a young pilot checked his systems. His hands shook slightly, but his eyes burned with determination. We'll bring her home, he whispered, even if the whole galaxy thinks we're mad. In the silence of space, the rescue ships leapt forward, leaving Earth behind. The stars stretched into lines, and the humans began their journey across dangerous territories. On the alien girl's barren world, night fell. She looked up at the endless sky, her body weak but her heart alive with a new hope. She whispered to herself, please let them come. Let them be real. And far away, engines roared in the void, carrying humanity closer with every moment. The galaxy did not yet understand, but history had begun to turn. A single forgotten cry had awakened something powerful, something unstoppable, the courage of humankind. And soon, the girl would see with her own eyes what it meant when humanity answered a call no one else dared to hear. The human ships cut through the black sea of space, their engines glowing like fireflies against the darkness. They were not the largest ships in the galaxy, not the most advanced, but each carried something no enemy could measure: human determination. Inside the lead ship, Captain Elias stood at the command deck. His eyes were sharp, but his heart carried the same fire as his crew. He replayed the girl's signal once more. Her fragile voice echoed through the cabin, filling every ear with the same resolve. She is waiting, Elias said quietly, and we will not fail her. The fleet pushed deeper into dangerous regions. Strange signals appeared on their scanners. Unidentified ships lurking in the shadows, alien raiders watching silently. The humans knew they were being tracked. Every other species ignored the girl's cry. Yet here were humans, risking their lives for her. To many, it looked like madness. But the crew did not flinch. Young pilot Eric gripped the controls of his vessel, scanning for threats. He whispered to himself, "She's out there alone. If it were me, I'd want someone to come. So I'll get her home." The journey grew darker. They passed through debris fields, wreckage of old battles that told silent stories of civilizations destroyed. The crew felt the weight of history pressing against them, but still they moved forward. Meanwhile, on the barren desert world, the girl waited. Her body grew weaker each day. Food was scarce, her shelter fragile against the cold nights. Sometimes she feared she would not live long enough to see them. Yet the communicator glowed every few hours, carrying the steady voice of humanity. "Hold on," the voice said. "We are coming closer." She clung to those words like lifelines. In her heart, a small fire of hope kept burning. But danger was not far. The alien race that had abandoned her had begun to notice the movement of human ships. They whispered among themselves, angry and proud. How dare these humans interfere? She was cast aside for weakness. Saving her will only shame us. Some of their warships stirred, preparing to confront humanity if they dared to reach her. Back in a human fleet, tension grew. Radar screens lit up with unknown signatures. The crew exchanged worried glances. The commander's voice remained steady. "Stay on course. Do not fire unless attacked. Remember why we are here." The humans pressed on, knowing every passing hour pulled them closer to both the girl and conflict. One night, as stars drifted silently around her, the alien girl looked up at the sky. She whispered, "Humans, please don't give up. Please, let your promise be real." And in the cold silence of space, the human fleet flew faster, their hearts united by her cry. They did not yet know what awaited them. Raiders, enemies, betrayal. But they knew one truth: humanity would not abandon her. The rescue mission had begun, and nothing could turn them back now. The human fleet cut closer to the girl's lonely world. Every star seemed sharper, every silence heavier. On the command deck, Captain Elias studied the holographic map. The signal of the girl's beacon glowed, faint but steady. They were close now, just a few days away. But something else appeared on their scanners. Unknown vessels. Fast, sharp, and carrying the marks of an alien empire. The same empire that had abandoned the girl. "They've noticed us," Elias said quietly. His crew stiffened, hands moving over controls. Red lights blinked across the radar, showing the alien ships circling like predators. The girl, waiting on her barren desert, had no idea. She lay under the pale night sky, whispering to herself, "Humans will come. They will not leave me like the others." Her heart clung to hope, but in the cold distance, her own people prepared to ensure she remained forgotten. Inside one of the alien warships, Commander spoke with anger. She was cast aside, one growled. "She is unworthy of rescue." Another hissed, "And yet, humans dare to claim her. If they succeed, our shame will spread across the galaxy." They must be stopped. Their decision was clear. They would rather see her perish than be saved by human hands. Back in a human fleet, warnings flashed. The alien ships moved closer, shadows in the darkness. "They're not here by chance," Eric, the young pilot, muttered. "They're here for her." Elias gave a sharp nod. "Hold your positions. Do not fire unless they strike first. Remember, our mission is rescue, not war." But the aliens did not speak of peace. Their first message crackled through the speakers, cold and full of pride. "Humans, turn back. The one you seek is no concern of yours. Leave her where she belongs, in exile." The crew fell silent. Everyone looked to Elias. His jaw tightened. He pressed the comm button. His voice was calm, but iron hard. "We do not abandon those who cry for help. Not on Earth, not in the stars. Step aside, or face us." There was no reply, only the sudden flash of enemy weapons charging. The first strike came swift, cutting across the darkness. Human ships shook under the impact, alarms blaring. Yet not one vessel turned back. Instead, they moved in formation, shields holding, pilots steady. The girl, far below, saw strange lights burning in the sky. She thought it was just the stars playing tricks on her weak eyes. She did not know that above her world, humanity was already fighting to protect her life. Inside the battle, Eric's voice cracked through the comms. "Captain, we're outnumbered. They don't want us near her." Elias answered, his tone unshaken. "Then we'll show them what it means to fight for something greater than pride." The battle raged across the silent void. Alien ships struck with fury, but humans countered with precision. They were not the strongest, but they were driven by something no enemy understood, the belief that every life mattered. The alien commanders grew unsettled. "Why won't they turn back?" one demanded. "Because they are human," another answered bitterly. "And humans are too stubborn to let go." The battle reached a standstill. Neither side gave in. Then, as the humans held their ground, a message was sent directly to the girl's communicator. Her screen flickered, and she heard it, the cold voices of her own people. "You are not worth saving. If the humans reach you, they will pay in blood. Stay silent. Accept your fate." Her heart shattered. For a moment, despair returned. Her own people would rather kill than let her live. She buried her face in her hands, tears falling into the sand. But then another voice cut through the static, strong and unwavering. It was Elias. "Don't listen to them. We are still coming. And no one will stop us." Her tears turned into something else. Not weakness, but resolve. For the first time, she believed not only in humanity, but in herself. Above her world, the battle continued. Shadows of betrayal had risen, but humanity's light burned brighter. The fight was far from over, but one thing was certain. The humans would not turn back. The void was alive with fire. Human ships and alien warcraft circled one another like predators, their weapons flashing across the darkness. Explosions lit up the cold silence, painting the stars with bursts of red and gold. Captain Elias gripped the railing of the command deck, his voice calm but burning with force. "Hold the line. Protect each other. Remember why we are here." His words carried through every human ship. For the crew, this was more than a battle. It was proof that humanity stood for something greater than pride. On the desert world below, the girl could see distant streaks of light glowing in the sky. At first, fear gripped her. Was it her people destroying the humans? Were they being driven back? She pressed her communicator to her chest, whispering, "Please don't give up. Not now." The communicator crackled, and a voice answered, "We're still here, still fighting, and we will reach you." Her tears fell again, but this time they were tears of hope. The alien commanders were furious. These humans are fragile. They should have broken by now. But their scans told them a different truth. The human ships fought with unity, covering each other, sacrificing pieces of themselves to keep the mission alive. Where one ship faltered, another moved to shield it. Where one pilot grew weary, another lifted their voice with courage. Humanity's strength was not in one soldier or one captain. It was in their bond. Young pilot Eric pushed his vessel through enemy fire, taking a hit that cracked his shields. Sparks filled his cabin, but his voice never shook. "Don't worry about me. Get through. Reach her." The alien girl, listening from the ground, could hear fragments of their voices across the comm waves. She could feel their courage, raw and unshaken, even when death circled them. And then something remarkable happened. As the humans pushed forward, the alien ships began to falter. Not because humanity had stronger weapons. They didn't. Not because they had bigger numbers. They didn't. The aliens faltered because they could not understand why humans kept fighting when logic demanded retreat. One alien officer shouted in confusion, "They are outnumbered. Their ships are weaker. Why do they not fall back?" A commander's reply was bitter. "Because they are human. They don't fight only with weapons. They fight with something else." Back on Earth, stories of the mission had already begun to spread. Ordinary people watched from command centers, families holding their breath as news of the battle reached them. And all across Earth, one truth became clear. This was not only a rescue mission. It was a test of what humanity truly was. Elias stood tall as another blast shook his ship. His crew looked to him, waiting. His voice cut through the alarms. We fight not for power, not for conquest. We fight because no life deserves to be left in the dark. That is the strength of humanity. That is what makes us different. Every human heart burned brighter. And the girl, listening to his words through static, felt her chest tighten. For the first time in her life, she believed she mattered. She believed her existence had value. The aliens fired again, desperate to push the humans back. But instead of retreat, the human fleet surged forward. Shields cracked, hulls burned, but they refused to break. One ship took a direct hit and began to fall, but 3 more rushed to cover it, dragging it back into formation. It was madness. It was impossible. It was human. The alien girl's communicator glowed once more. She heard Eric's tired but steady voice. We're almost there. Hold on. We'll see you soon. She closed her eyes, clutching the device with trembling hands. Her people had called her weak. They had abandoned her. But humanity was showing her a strength she had never imagined. Not strength in weapons, not strength in numbers, but strength in the heart. Above her world, in the fire and storm of battle, humanity awakened. The battle above the barren world raged like fire across the heavens. Human ships and alien warcraft clashed again and again, beams of light crossing the void, explosions carving brief suns into the night sky. The desert below lit up with strange flashes, and the alien girl stared upward, her heart pounding with fear and awe. For so long, she had believed she was nothing, cast aside, forgotten, a burden to her people. But now she watched as strangers fought with their very lives just to reach her. Humanity, small compared to the empires of the galaxy, refused to retreat. Her communicator crackled. It was Captain Elias's voice, steady despite the chaos around him. Hold on, we're close. We won't let them keep you. Tears blurred her eyes. She pressed the device to her lips and whispered, Why? Why would you fight for me? And though he could not hear her whisper, the answer was already in his voice when he spoke again. Because every life matters. Even yours. Those words struck deeper than any weapon. For the first time, she felt a strength rising inside her chest, not borrowed from others, but her own. Above, the battle grew desperate. Human ships were running low on energy. Shields cracked, systems flickered, and some vessels were close to collapse. The alien commanders thought victory was near. Humans cannot endure this much longer, one sneered. Their bodies are weak, their machines simple. Soon they will fall. But they did not see what was happening below. The alien girl, weak and trembling, pushed herself to her feet. Her body screamed with exhaustion, but her spirit burned with new fire. She stumbled toward the small outpost her people had abandoned. There, hidden under the sands, was an old transmitter, one she had never dared to touch before. Her people had left it behind, believing she would never use it. But now, guided by humanity's courage, she reached for it. Her hands shook as she connected her communicator, linking it to the stronger system. Static filled the air, then cleared. Her voice, once broken and quiet, now rang across the channels, directly into the ears of every human pilot. This is not just my fight anymore, she said, her voice trembling but strong. You came for me, and now I will stand with you. For a moment, silence filled the comms. Then cheers erupted across the human fleet. Even Captain Elias smiled, pride flashing in his eyes. She's with us, he said softly. Now we don't stand alone. But her message did more than inspire humans. It carried across the alien fleet as well. The commanders who had abandoned her froze in anger and shame as they heard her words. The girl they had called weak, unworthy, now spoke with more strength than they had ever shown. Impossible, one muttered. She was supposed to stay silent, but she was no longer silent. Fueled by her voice, the humans rallied. Ships moved back into formation, pilots pushing through exhaustion. They fought with renewed spirit, every blast carrying not just firepower, but hope. Where one ship fell, another surged forward, protecting it. Where an enemy advanced, a human pilot blocked the path. The girl's words had changed everything. She sank to her knees after sending the message, her body nearly collapsing from the effort. But in her heart, she felt lighter. For the first time in her life, she was not hiding. She was not begging. She was standing with humanity. And above her world, the balance shifted. The aliens realized too late that their betrayal had created the very strength they feared. The girl they had abandoned had become a symbol, not of weakness, but of defiance. And humanity, already unstoppable in heart, now fought with twice the fire. Captain Elias's final command rang through the fleet. Forward, for her, and for what we believe in. The stars blazed with renewed battle. The turning point had come, and from this moment, the galaxy would never be the same. The battle reached its peak. Human ships burned and cracked, but none turned back. Alien warcraft circled like vultures, but for every strike they landed, humanity answered with fire and unity. Above the desert world, the sky itself glowed with the fury of clashing lights. On the ground, the alien girl watched, her heart trembling but no longer afraid. She had found her voice, and her voice had given humanity new strength. Every flash in the sky was proof that they had not abandoned her, proof that she mattered. Inside his ship, Captain Elias tightened his grip on the console. Sweat traced his forehead, but his voice carried the same calm fire it always did. This ends tonight. Push them back. The fleet moved as one. Weary pilots pushed their ships beyond their limits, engines screaming as they cut through enemy fire. Young Eric, with his cracked shields and failing systems, still laughed over the comms. They can't stop us. Not today. The alien commanders grew desperate. Their pride was shattering with every passing second. They had believed the girl was worthless, but her defiance and humanity's protection of her had turned the galaxy's eyes upon them. If they lost here, their shame would echo forever. Destroy the humans at any cost, one snarled. But even as they gathered for a final strike, something changed. The girl, kneeling by her old transmitter, pressed her trembling hands against the controls once more. Her voice, raw but steady, filled every channel across the battle. To my people, to those who left me behind, look at me now. I am alive. I am not weak, and I will not die in silence. Humanity stands with me, and I with them. If you want me gone, then you must face us all. Her words echoed like thunder. Across the human fleet, pride flared. Across the alien fleet, hesitation spread. Soldiers who had once called her unworthy now felt doubt creep into their hearts. Captain Elias seized the moment. Now, drive them back. The humans surged forward. Their ships wove through enemy lines, striking with precision. One by one, the alien vessels broke formation, their unity shattered. For the first time, the betrayers felt fear. Explosions tore the night apart, scattering debris across the stars. Finally, as the last enemy ship limped away into the void, silence returned to the battlefield. The humans had not only survived, they had won. Cheers rang across the fleet, tired voices filled with joy. Eric let out a breathless laugh. We did it. We actually did it. On the desert below, the girl collapsed in the sand, tears streaming down her face, not of sorrow, but of relief. Above her world, humanity had fought and bled, not for conquest, not for power, but for her. Moments later, a shadow fell across the dunes. The first human landing craft descended, its thrusters stirring the dust. She covered her face against the storm of sand, then looked up to see the ramp lowering. Captain Elias stepped forward, his armor scratched, his face weary but strong. For a moment, the girl could only stare. Then, with trembling steps, she moved toward him. You really came, she whispered. He smiled faintly, offering his hand. We promised. Humanity keeps its promises. Her small hand slipped into his, and the weight of years of pain seemed to fall away. She was no longer the abandoned, the forgotten. She was alive, and she was not alone. As the humans lifted her aboard, the dawn broke across the desert horizon. The first rays of light painted the sky gold, a new beginning for her, and perhaps for all of humanity. Because in answering her cry, Humanity had awakened something greater than strength. They had awakened hope. Hope that no life was too small, no voice too faint, no soul too forgotten. The galaxy would remember this day. The day one girl's final plea had ignited the hidden strength of humankind. And in that moment, as the sun rose and the stars faded, a new chapter began, not just for her, but for humanity itself. A new dawn,